Welcome back to another episode of Barbecue and Bottles. So we're going to be doing 2 New York strip steaks here, and we'll do our typical method, garlic, butter, rosemary, and we'll see which one yields the better crust. So first step is just going to get the burners on here. Now that those are lit up, we're just going to get our pans on the actual grill here, just like that. And we'll get these warming up. Now while those pans are warming up, we've got rosemary, so we'll need that later. We've got some homemade clarified butter. You can use regular butter, but this clarified butter, we've got a link down in the description below if you want to make this. It's got a higher smoke point of, I think it's 480 Fahrenheit. And now let's just prep a little bit of the garlic. So I've got some fresh garlics here. We're just gonna break these apart and get a few cloves. We'll add these into the pan. Now we'll just chop off the ends here and then smash the garlic with our chef's knife, and it's just a lot easier to get the actual peel off the garlic once you've smashed it like that. We'll take off that green end as well. So now for our steaks, we're gonna be using 2 beautiful grass-fed New York strip steaks. We got these cut about 1.25 inches thick from our butcher. And what we did is we did our typical 48-hour dry brine on these. So we gave them a generous amount of kosher salt, put them onto a cooling rack on top of a cookie tray, and slid that into our fridge, and we just left them there for 48 hours. And you get this beautiful outcome. The surface of these steaks is exceptionally dry to the touch, and that's what we're looking for. Because when we get the pan ripping hot, we get our avocado oil in there and drop in our steak, all of the energy from that cast iron pan or the stainless steel pan should transition into the Maillard reaction and give us that brown crust that we're looking for. So we've got our infrared thermometer, and we're just gonna check the temperature of these pans. We're looking for 450 to 500. We're at just under 450 here, and that's a fairly even temperature around the pan. On the stainless steel, we've got 450 at certain parts, we've got 380 at others, so it looks like it's a little bit less even of a heat. So we're gonna load in our avocado oil anyway, and we'll see how this goes. I'll just get that worked around the pan here nicely so we've got an even coating. Now let's drop in our steaks. Just gonna press those down to make sure we've got perfect connection between the steak and the pan. Now for the cast iron skillet. Right, we're gonna put the lid down and we'll let those go for 3 to 4 minutes on each side. You'll know that the crust is formed when the steak freely releases from the pan. If you go to move your steak and it's still stuck on there, give it a little bit of extra time for that crust to really form and the Maillard reaction to work its magic. So now it's time to turn these. Just look at that crust. Absolutely gorgeous. This is off the cast iron. Now let's check the stainless steel. Also an absolutely beautiful crust. I wasn't expecting it to be that good, frankly. So now we're just gonna get some of our clarified butter in here. And of course, some of our rosemary sprigs. All right. Now we're just gonna baste these steaks. Get some of that garlic up on there, the rosemary as well. Beautiful. Get the garlic up onto the steak just to make sure it doesn't burn through the rest of this cook. Slide that back in there. Now we'll do the same with the cast iron. All right, now we'll put the lid down and let those go for another 2 minutes. So these steaks just hit an internal temperature of 128 to 130. So we're gonna get them on this side here, sear off the fat cap, and then we'll let them rest. Now the fat caps are done. Let's get these off. Just beautiful looking steaks. Now we'll top the garlic here and the rosemary just for another layer of flavor here as these rest. All right, now that we've had these resting for 10 minutes, we're just gonna take the garlic and rosemary off the top here and make way for slicing. Now this is the steak that was done in the stainless steel pan, and this is the one that was done in the cast iron pan. Now, to be honest, the appearance here is not that much different. Now, we run this knife over the steak just to see the crust. You know, you can hear that. There's a lot of crust that formed on that stainless steel. And same with the cast iron. I don't know that there's really any difference in the crust here. And it's the same on both sides, like really, really solid crust. Now we're gonna carve in and see whether we got an even medium rare all the way through the steak. One of the things I was a little bit worried about with the stainless steel was just how uneven the heat in the actual pan was. Now, hopefully, because we were doing it on the barbecue with the lid closed, this ended up almost behaving like searing the steaks in the oven, but we'll see. And we'll just lay these out. Check out the internal temps here all the way up the steak. It looks like on the cast iron pan, we got a pretty good medium rare all the way through. Now, as we look at the stainless steel pan, I'm gonna say here, this was the steak that we had done to 130, and it looks like it carried over a little bit more than the cast iron steak. This one was pulled at 128, but putting the slight temperature degree difference aside, it does look like there was a little less evenness in the cook. You can see a lot more pink in these center slices than the two at the edge relative to the cast iron pan. In terms of overall evenness and doneness, I'm gonna give that to the cast iron pan. And frankly, that's actually what I would have expected too. With a cast iron pan, you have the thermal capacity of that pan really absorbs a ton of energy into it as it's heating up on the grill, and it just allows for a more even cooking than what we saw with the stainless steel pan. So that's a slight difference. But now, let's try the taste test. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, this is hands down my favorite way to prepare a steak. You've got that saltiness from the 48-hour dry brine that's evenly seasoned throughout the steak. It's not just on the surface. You've got the crunch from the crust. Having rendered the fat cap, that's really nice and light and rendered. It just adds a beautiful flavor profile. And of course, that homemade clarified butter. I can't stress that enough. Go try it. Really easy to do. Smells wonderful, still imparts that rich buttery flavor that's really forward in these. And of course you've got the garlic and the rosemary as well. So now let's try the taste test on the stainless steel. That is so good. So the taste test on the stainless steel steak, absolutely incredible as well. A slightly different level of doneness, but still, you've got that rich, buttery, beefy texture. You've got the garlic, the rosemary, the saltiness. This is just perfect. Overall in this comparison, I'm gonna give the gold medal to the cast iron steak, and that's just because of the evenness that it brought to the cook. The crusts were almost identical. It rendered the fat cap just as well. And frankly, like if all you've got is a stainless steel pan at home, go for it. You're gonna get a phenomenal outcome, albeit it might be a little bit more graded in terms of its doneness than doing it in cast iron. So if you like this video, give us a like below, consider subscribing to the channel for more steak experiments and YouTube cooking videos to come. Thanks for tuning in.